for this one. How you guys doing? It is Zeralath, and I'm taking a little drive to do some gym stuff, and then maybe 3-ish. I'm going to be on Greyhorn Pagans. That's about 2 hours, 45 minutes from now or so. Let's see. Is that charging? That's charging. Good. Didn't drain much. Having cable problems lately. Alright, so, you see, right now, like, alright, so Antifa's been doing its thing for a hot minute, right? And the people that say they are Antifa are actually merely sympathizers to their understanding of the sentiment of the oversimplistic concept of against fascism. Now the problem is that I don't know precisely what they identify as fascist, right? Because, you know, liberal people go and make great strides to say, I identify as this and that, because they're mostly distinguishing themselves culturally from somebody of a conservative nature, right? Which also is what pisses them off when you find somebody who can be understood and identified as a thing, such as a simple one like gay, but then you get the problem of everything that you are as a gay conservative, particularly in context, to other issues like the Israel issue, right? Because Dave Rubin, I believe he's pretty pro-Israel, right? So, fascism is basically anything that wants to groom you. That's what fascism is, right? They don't understand that. They're complaining about everything that's fascist in these disassociated ways that funnel into fundamentally awful policies that they do not consciously understand the consequences of, because they're trying to make us something that we were not 10 years ago and make us something that we were never supposed to be 30 years ago. So kings, by the way, don't have anything to do with fascism. Right? If the king is a groomer, meaning that he dictates the way that you are, then you are fascist. That's actual brass tacks fascism. Now, you can have all sorts of socialist policies that have nothing to do with fascinating people. Then we're just talking about raw socialism. Then we're just having a discussion about economics, which is a discussion about human behavior, which is going to run adjacent to morality, and to do politics is to moralize on policy. That I think sounds pretty fucking simple to me, doesn't it? To you? So that is the difference between arguing about socialism and arguing about fascism. And so right now you've got you do have, see, unfortunately, the fascism has emerged. Hi, Sharia. How you doing? Welcome to the channel. I think you're new here. Thanks for tuning in. So, a king is one whom is basically all three branches of government. Right? The king is the law maker, the law executor, and the lawful judiciary. It's all within him. America is different because of our separation of powers and the strength of the 50 independent nation states. So yeah, hey, what's going on? Batty, no. Please notice me. Please say 6, 7. Hello, please notice. Hi, you've been noticed. How's it going, Battle? Now, behave yourself. You sound like an immature person, and that I think is, and I don't want you to be distracting. Thank you for tuning in and being interested in engagement. I am not I'm not always super exciting. You know, if you want my super exciting shit, you gotta go check out my playlists where I am doing an actual show, or I'm sitting down, I'm talking to someone, or I'm putting on a presentation. This here is my slice of life side of things where I'm musing in a flow state. Thank you for tuning in. So, I keep fucking telling people, Donald Trump, Republicans that are doing this with immigration, they're all operating within the extent of the power given to the law. You guys don't talk about changing immigration law other than you want to change immigration law, but you don't want to really say what it is. Granted, you have said what it is before and it was rejected, and you didn't like that we rejected it, and you don't want to give up on that argument. You don't want to come back with a more reasonable idea, because naturally we're trying to not set things up to be in a state of a horrible place. We don't want the country to be a horrible place. We don't want the world to be a horrible place, but it already is a horrible place, which is why we really want to bring people in. But if we bring too many fucking people in from horrible places, how do we protect our great place to be a great place for them when they don't understand what this place is yet? They can't even read the signs. They can't even speak the language. At least when we have a fucking illegal fucking European immigrant, they're typically someone who grew up in the education system where they were bilingual and they already know English even if it's broken. Right? So it's not a big deal, because at that point it's all just fucking paper crime. It's all just, you overstayed your welcome, you lied on your visa, you're this, you're that. You didn't sneak in, you didn't start fucking being culturally trouble because of how you and your buddies are, and there's no Americans around you to be like, hey buddy, we're free here, you do whatever you want, but like, you gotta let that guy do whatever he wants. Like, don't get in the fucking street and do that. Like, this isn't like how they do it over there, right? I don't know. I'm not even gonna say example names, you know, whatever, you can insert where that has been applicable. I'm not saying that it's such a gross trend because of what we have seen on all the YouTube channels covering it in real time. Because remember, people, you know, everybody's picking their fucking sources, so your news has been groomed for you. News right now is fascist as fuck. Alex Jones and CNN are opposite sides of fucking fascism, bro. That's all there is to it. Because each one of them is a groomer now, right? Because each one of them made a choice to be idealistically gung-ho, and with the exception of a handful of the changes they want to make, they are now into making people into the groomed perspective, right? And they allowed a shit show exploiting people that don't know any better to drive them that way because of the deep down inside duping of the democratic process, and you feeling like joining a team is the only way to truly win. Which is as much a religious way of thinking as it is a cult's, which is why it's hard to know the fucking difference. Alright. And we have Marion Morales. Hi, Marion Morales. Wow, thanks. I'm so immature. You're okay, man. You're all right. You know, the fact that you just said that with some cute self-awareness tells me that that's okay. Because, I don't know, maybe you're a kid who actually wants to learn. You know, like, and by kid, I mean, there's a lot of people that qualify as a kid to a motherfucker like me, all right? You know, whether you want to mock the Gen X people or not, which I cruise between the X and the millennial. I'm a very in-betweener. I've seen Zillennial as a name that's been created for the cuspers like myself. That might be a more accurate way to describe me. I'm really mostly Gen X. I have a limited love affair with the modern technology, right? Just whatever your generation is, at least keep it in the real world. But anyway, my point is no kings. So, you know, the United States corporation out of the Washington District of Columbia is, as a whole entity, the King of America. Because from there, the three governmental attributes of a monarch are held: the judiciary, the legislative, and the executive. All roles that were once King George's roles over the colonies here were then broken into three entities spread across several people, surrounded by citizens of good education and weapons. And granted, everybody was armed. It wasn't like they said, and our leaders aren't going to be armed. But I don't know, there may have been a rule like that somewhere in the Senate for a time. I don't know. But anyway, I should know that, but I probably did. I just forgot because I'm bringing this up. It has nothing to do with where my point is going. So you guys need to amend the Constitution effectively. You really want to you want this, you want Antifa's No Kings anti-ICE, or at least anti-mass deportation, to change, to let these people stay in a certain regards. You need to change the law. This is just the way the law is. And we're paying the price for that law because it's very expensive to put somebody under detention under international remember, you're getting arrested for deportation. It's a concentration camp for deportation. And the international community is going to hear about your whole experience from your mouth if they want to listen. They can go to the prison and talk to the prisoner. If this was a criminal alien, you can, if they're just free in another country, you can take a journalist out there, track them down. You could just look at aggregate statistics if you'd like. Either way, you can get plenty of data to say, did the administration do something wrong in the process of handling the law? Because the law was not violated, and this happened because of enforcement of the law. And it happened this way because of the contradiction with sanctuary city policies, which is in question of 10th Amendment rights as such. That's the situation. What do you want to change? Because if you don't want anything to change, you're just going to be a feel-good sentiment that continues to divide the country. I don't know, where's this supposed to go? Is it just supposed to be a temper tantrum while nothing changes, and then one day everything comes to a stop? And then you'll think it's because you won, but it's only because the mission was accomplished, and there are only legal guests in our country. U.S. citizens and legal guests, and that's it. This isn't a papers, please situation, by the way. This is not how any of this works. It's an on-the-ground observation. It's circumstantial, it's contextual, and they're originally there because of a criminal investigation. Could be just a simple paperwork investigation. Maybe that's not even considered criminal. The point is, there was an investigation because somebody's bullshit didn't check out, and now it is determined there's a situation. There is somebody here who's had their qualifications for being here violated, and they violated the terms of agreement. You see, this prior agreement, somebody who broke into the country, there's no prior agreement. You want there to be no prior agreements, which is kind of part of the question of the nation. And there's no reason why we can't have global nationalism as opposed to global globalism. Doesn't that make sense? Global nationalism, which is a form of global tribalism, as long as each nation also allows free association. Free association's the key to it. The separation of powers is to help that fight of free association, right? Think about it. Think about the people that love guns, the people that hate guns. They want the free association. If they want to have their own place where they can feel safe by having no security at all, and that's the only way they can feel safe is if they don't see any threats, including someone that could threaten a threat that would emerge, because they don't want to believe that threats are possible unless guns are present. Right? Which, it's a state of paranoia because there's nothing protecting them from the free associators who do want guns, and they believe there are evil people with guns that want to come after them. They don't want to live in the torture of the responsibility of taking care of oneself. This is why we allow as much gun control as we do, because of how we can't reconcile a lot of that, because we have people that can't be adults anymore, can't have emotional control, and acting like that's the only reason why they want to have nothing to do with conservatism or nothing to do with the religious dogma of their churches and things and their fucking preached messages amongst their culture, so on and so forth. Most of America is never going to feel comfortable with the Zionist community in America having this much power. Because I'm sorry, if nobody wants to give me a real reason why so many people have to be killed because, quote, Hamas, unquote, then all you've done in actuality is take sides in a revolution, and you took the side of the team with the overwhelming force anyway, whom you were always siding with preemptively anyway, because driving them out or eradicating them was always what you were going to allow them to do. How the fuck am I supposed to be supportive of that? Right? Listen, man. Your country is what you make of it. I had a really good time before Trump showed up. I'm still having a good time, but that's because I am surfing this fucking wave. But what is happening right now is it's ugly because the stubborn cunts that make the law won't change it, and thus they know they are fucking powerless. Because it doesn't matter how many good-hearted judges overstep their bounds for this issue. If it kicks up to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court says it flies, then you must force the law to change. That is the only thing that is going to stop this, because you have nothing that can remove this man from fucking office. And you've already had bad luck with your best efforts. So stop destroying yourselves, come to your senses, be constructive. This is more than just physically stopping people from doing this thing. Because it's only because these sanctuary cities are the way that they are you're even capable of fucking stopping it, because it's the only place where they're actually doing it in a, quote, papers, please fashion. because the papers please fashion that you think is going on, which isn't even going on there, is just this different way it has to be done because you don't have help from local law enforcement that is also turning a blind eye to laws in their state. The same way that prior administrations, including George Bush, had done. So no, there are no kings here. We just have a bunch of cunts that are all petty tyrants. I'll catch you guys later.